Welcome to a new video. My name is Leia and I live with my partner Martin and our toddler Puck on our land here in Central Portugal. On my channel I show you what our day-to-day life is like. I like to show some of the scenery here in Central Portugal, and then sometimes I also like to share some of my thoughts and feelings about the world. So today is one of those videos. I want to talk to you about letting go of control and kind of letting go of that feeling that says to you, okay, you have to do this, you have to do that, and a lot of that are societal norms. So you have to get married, you have to have children, they go to school, and then you go to work, and all that type of stuff, where other people make the decisions for you, and you don't really have to think about what you're doing, you're just following along the path that has been laid out for you. And I think that path gives you kind of a false sense of security. So I want to talk to you about that nagging feeling of you have to do this, and the false security that comes with it. In the last 2 years there have been two major changes in my life. The first of which was becoming a parent. It's almost hard to express how much that changes your life and how you make decisions. What I've learned so far from her and from being a parent is that nothing ever goes to plan, and that you have to let go of that feeling of we have to do this, we have to do that, and we have to have a schedule. I know some people with kids love schedules, but I don't. The way we parent, we try to look more at what she needs at this moment, and that might be something completely different from what I want to do, from what I have planned, but she always comes first. So if she's not feeling something, if she can't play while I'm gardening, then it's just not gonna happen without an extreme amount of stress, so then I just don't do it. So the other thing is that obviously we chose a really different way of life, and we moved into our camper, we just set off to southern Europe, we ended up in Portugal, and things also don't go to plan. So some of the things that we wanted to do didn't happen, but where we are now, we are really happy with the land that we bought and that we chose, and how we choose to set it up. So from those two things, like becoming a parent and changing the way we live, what I'm trying to do is creating and cultivating an acceptance within myself that things happen as they do, and that I have very little control over the world and others. The only thing that I have control over is how I react to them. The only thing I have control over is how I respond to the struggle, to the friction that comes with life. And this is why I've tried to create this acceptance, knowing that trial and error is part of life, and that failure can create new ideas, and that tragedy or bad things can make way for better things. So up and down is essential to life. It is important to know that trial and error is part of life, because I think our generation as millennials, especially, we were raised with the idea that if you just work hard enough, if you just do the right things, then you can become anything, you can do whatever you want, whatever you like, and that's just not true. So the decades before that, and especially before the crash of 2008, I think they created a false sense of safety. So we had a lot of, especially in Northern Europe, we have a lot of social structures based on the government. So you have a lot of social You can get social benefits, there's good healthcare, there's this whole system set up where you get taken care of. And that's not a good thing or a bad thing, but that's what the system was at the time. But now, after the crash, and I think with a crash that's gonna happen again, is that right now we are seeing the right wing kind of step in again, and they promise better things, but what they do is that they break down all the social structures that we had. Boris Johnson is gonna break down the NHS. They're gonna privatize everything, which means that for people who don't have the funds, they will no longer have access to good healthcare. So that safety net is taken away. So in this late stage of capitalism, we're going back to very basic social safety net. And this is why I feel like there is a false sense of safety and security in taking the path that is laid out for you, because it no longer exists. I went to a really good university, I got my bachelor's, I got my master's, but it was really hard for me to actually get the jobs that they advertise for you, because there's 300 others that want that same job. And so you see that the only way to get into what they would call a good job is that to know people and to kind of network your way into that type of work. So I was reading a book the other week, and in it she talks about creating and in this she talked about creating this outlook on life which is anti-fragile. So fragile is something that breaks really easily after it gets a hit. So a glass is a really fragile thing, and being anti-fragile, you get better from bad things that happen to you, you get better from the struggle. So you need to take a risk, and there needs to be spontaneity to create new ideas and to find better ways of doing things. It is only when we step out of the system that we can think of a new one. So we had to leave our jobs, and we had to leave the Netherlands to make room, to make headspace, and to find a better way to live and to create the life that we're trying to create right now. And so sometimes a really radical change is necessary, and it's essential, not only in your own life, but for the system as a whole. I want to end with the question, so what can you do? There are a couple ways that you can cultivate this anti-fragility within yourself. One is just creating a more resilient self, so accepting that change is imminent, that the world is ever changing, and the only thing that you can do is how do you respond to all this. In general, I also think it is really important to make friends with people who feel the same way as you do, so that you can help each other when in need, and really foster those types of relationships, because they are the only thing that you have if something doesn't go the way you plan. If you are in need of help, if you are stuck, then sometimes all you need is a friend, someone to help you out in your time of need. The only way that we can survive in this changing world is through helping each other and through loving each other, and to create something better than what is already here. This is my little lecture for this week. I hope you enjoyed. Next week will be another vlog where there's some really exciting things happening. So I'll see you next week.